Hey, it's Dr. J, and welcome to a special Tuesday. Now, normally we have Nutrition Chips Tuesday, but we're going to do that every fortnight. And because so many of the guys in the tribe have been doing so incredibly well, and we're increasing sales, we're seeing more people, all the good stuff, I thought it was time to draw on our inner circle and just a little bit of an insight on my inner circle. I'm quite particular on who's in my inner circle. There's people I know that are leaders in their field, but also are able to walk the talk. And I thought if we're going to be talking about money and money matters, like the matters of money, and actually money does matter, the best of the best is Jackson Millan. Now, I've known Jackson for a while now, and I remember the first time I met Jackson. I was at a colleague's event. And I was having a conversation with my colleague, Paul Ridey. G'day, Ridey. I'm sure you're seeing this. And it was Jackson actually sponsored the event. And we had a bit of a conversation about money. Now, I've actually had quite a fortunate journey with people that gave me advice, but my advisor retired because he made too much money. Now, the end of the day was I was very dubious about going to others. And there was a way that my advisor, my friend, talked to me. And when I spoke to Jackson, I read lots of books on finance and so forth, and he was just banging out this stuff that was just well and truly ahead of the game. And I was actually had a look at some of the things he did. I read his great book. Now, I don't read finance books. I read his books, outstanding. And what I found was he's doing everything that everyone's learning to do. He's ahead of the game. And if you want to actually make money, money is the best staff member in the world. It never takes holidays. If you look after it, it might get a little bit lull, but you can always rev it up, and it works 24 hours a day. So I thought I would see if this guy that's on TV and all over the shot could give us some time. And he actually very generously has agreed. Now, Jackson's going to be coming on every fortnight just to talk about money matters. So I'm so privileged and I'm so excited to be able to have Jackson on today to share some of his golden nuggets to be able to help you leverage your money so you give you the freedom to make those choices that that'll make you happy. So welcome, Jackson. Thanks so much for joining us.
Mate, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to sharing some value with the community.
Look, mate, let's get stuck straight into it because I know you've got a very short period of time. Now, when it comes down to this word called wealth, it's bantered around all the time. Everyone wants to make money and all the other bits and pieces. But we did an interview about 6 months ago, and you said if you had a plan, that was a short-term, mid-term, and long-term plan. If you just followed the plan, it's like sales, follow the process, and the outcome will take place. But it's a big but. Most people don't have a plan. They talk to their mum, their dad, the guys in the pub, and all of a sudden they make wrong choices. And I've done it. I've done it. We've actually said, I'll do this, and we did it, and it was a catastrophe. So I'd love to start off with, what is a simple way of explaining how to create wealth for someone, let me just put it into perspective, someone in their, say, 20s, 30s, or someone in their 40s to 50s, and maybe someone getting a little bit older, they haven't done their planning and they need to sort of catch up. So I know you explained it briefly before, but let's start with those, what a wealth plan is.
Yeah, perfect. So let's talk about what it's not first, because I think this is something where people go astray. And I think it's really important to understand what not to do, so then you can work out the right way forwards. The whole idea of what you've done in terms of the SAC and all of the great coaching that you do is that sales is the cornerstone of being able to be successful in any career or any business. If you don't know how to sell, then you're not going to have the wealth to be able to work towards financial freedom, right? But what we often find is that for many people who have this emphasis on sales, and once you learn how to sell, it's like you've got the Holy Grail. You know that you can pull this lever, you can push this button, you can put opportunities in the top of the funnel, and then the cash is going to come out the bottom. But the common misconception is many people feel that their earned income is going to make them wealthy. That is wrong. It is what you do with your earned income that makes you wealthy. So the thing that we often overlook is that, hey, I'm going to deal with this later. I'm crushing my sales. I'm doing really well. I'm above my targets. I'm going to do that planning thing later. I'll do it next month. I'll do it next quarter. I'll do it next year. And one of my mentors always said to me, tomorrow never comes. If you always say tomorrow, 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 you're going to find yourself looking back in hindsight and missing a tremendous opportunity. So what is planning? What most people think is that planning is working towards a particular financial goal. They want to have $1 million, so they want $100,000 a year in passive income. They want to be able to retire and have that $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a week to be able to live that ideal lifestyle. No, that is just a vehicle. The first thing that we all need to do, irrespective of whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, or any age for that matter, is you need to get crystal clear on the destination. What is it that you're actually trying to achieve? And the reality is that is not money. Money is just the tool.
Could you give us an example of a destination that the guys can maybe shift that paradigm?
Yeah, so an exercise for you guys, and you all watching this, I want you to note down these 3 questions. And this is questions that we ask all of our new clients, and we systematically ask our clients every single 6 months, these same 3 questions, because the destination is constantly moving and shifting. So question number 1 that you need to ask yourself is, what is fundamentally important to you? Or what are your non-negotiable needs?
Well, that's a different paradigm. Non-negotiable needs, not a standard. So that's a non-negotiable need. Love it.
Yeah. Now, put yourself in a position where your non-negotiables or your fundamentals have been achieved. What then becomes your goals, your dreams, and your aspirations? And then
so then it's goals like holidays and so forth, or promotions, and dreams is actually to become something, go somewhere, and so forth. Is that right?
Exactly. It could be lifestyle, could be holidays, it could be experiences you want to share with your family, it could be your dream home, it could be being debt free, it could be being able to retire on a beach in the Bahamas when you're 50, it could be anything. But get really crystal clear on what that destination is. Now, if you say that you want a home, where is it? How many bedrooms? What does it cost in today's market? What's the outlook? Get really clear, because this is about us turning dreams to goals. And then the third question is, what is the significance of those goals, dreams, and aspirations to you? Why are they important? Because it's all well and good to say, hey, I want to be able to have a multi-million-dollar mansion by the Spit Bridge. But if you can't answer the question why it's significant, then it's probably superficial. You probably don't want it. It's probably going to be a distraction that's going to lead you astray from what you really want, your true purpose.
So the 3 questions, just to recap then, is what are your what's important? What are your not negotiable needs that must be fulfilled? The second one would be the goals and dreams that are in for yourself. And goals have to be for yourself, but it could also be for your family when it comes to wealth. And the last one is with those goals, what significance will they have? Why are they important to you? And be very specific. Is that right?
Correct. Nailed it. Now, we've got an exercise that we can share into the SAC for anybody who wants to be able to facilitate this exercise. And it's powerful, because I'd probably say 9 times out of 10, the people that we sit down and we ask them these questions, they've never done an exercise like this before. And this is the number 1 problem. The problem is that most people haven't been taught how to plan. We have this superficial understanding of what it is to be wealthy, what financial freedom is. And many of us have just bought into that definition. And the issue is that unless we take a step back and really reflect on the big picture of what we want, and more importantly, why we want it, then you're not going to be invested in that plan. You're basically running by somebody else's plan. And if it's not yours, then the reality is that the likelihood of you making it come to fruition and making it happen is going to be very slim. And this is step number 1.
All right. So just recap step number 1. So Michelin just jumped in. So if you could just recap that just again, please, mate.
Yep. So it's about getting crystal clear on your destinations.
Right.
Money is not a destination. Money is a vehicle. So we need to understand, what is it that we need money for to allow us to create?
Right.
What are the goals, dreams, and aspirations that you truly want? And the reason why the fundamental question is so important is because, much like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, unless we've got a base level, a foundation that we're building upon, we can't think aspirationally. So think about it this way. If you're struggling to put food on the table, if you don't have certainty around where your next dollar is going to come from, you can't be thinking about whether you're going to buy a Ferrari or whether you're going to go on a Hawaiian holiday. You need to cement those fundamentals, those foundations, and put yourself in a position where you can think abundantly towards your goals, dreams, and aspirations.
Terrific. Okay, so once they've got that clarity, now, as I think you said it perfectly, no one gets taught how to do this. They just say, you should have a financial planner, or you should have a financial plan, but they don't get taught how to do this. This is great. So we've got to sit back down and get some specificity. And we, as you know, as we say, specificity makes things real, and it's incredibly important here. Okay,
100%.
What's the next step?
The next thing is you need to understand your cash flow. So we've got clear on the destination. We need to understand our starting point. And one of the things for many people they often overlook is they don't understand where they're starting from. So we need to do the research, and we need to create a framework to understand where we are right now. What does your here and now look like? And that starts with completing an exercise that we refer to as the personal profit and loss. Now, very important, we don't use the word budget. The reason for this is because many of us hold this kind of commonly held belief that we need to shrink ourselves wealthy, that financial freedom comes as a result of sacrifice, cutting joys out of life, skimping on the things that you really enjoy, living on a shoestring budget, eating cat food for dinner. And that is not true. It is very unsustainable, because once you've learnt the holy grail of sales, you now have the solution that can result in you making an infinite amount of income. So working to hit all of your sales targets and exceeding your sales targets whilst shrinking yourself wealthy, that's counterproductive. You're pushing one thing in one direction and the other thing in the complete opposite direction. They should be congruent. So what we need to do is we need to bin the word budget, because it comes with all those negative connotations, and we need to do a personal profit and loss. And a personal profit and loss is about being really honest with yourself. What does your life really cost? And once again, we've got a template for this. If you guys want a copy of it, please reach out, and it's something that we can share with you. And we want to go through and work out, okay, what are all of my costs of living? What's my rent or my mortgage repayments? What's my grocery bill, electricity? What are all of my lifestyle costs, my personal spending, my holidays, the things that I do that give me joy? And with all of those things being considered, and also considering my household income that I have coming in each and every single month, how much surplus do I have left over? Or how much profit do I have left over?
Now, it comes down to a P&L for me personally. So with the business, you can draw from the business. Let's talk about a personal one. So it's like, what does it cost me to live, and what's left over? So what's left over can then be maybe leveraged accordingly. Is that right?
Exactly. And the reality is that we're going to be much like a business in one of three positions. We're going to be in a deficit, meaning that your lifestyle exceeds how much income is coming in. That is an important realization, because there are many people out there that don't have that clarity. And without that clarity, you're sending yourself into a position of financial hardship that is going to continue to exacerbate that situation. And the sooner we can realize that point, the sooner we can find a solution.
So this is great, because that allows us to then say, well, if I want to create wealth, we have to have a little bit left over. There may be some budgeting that needs to take place where you reduce your costs.
Well, and there's two things here that we then can set a new income target. So if your personal profit and loss is unsustainable, we can then reverse engineer that into your sales target. And we can say, hey, you need to make 5 more sales a month and you're at break even. And if you do 7 more sales a month, you're in surplus. And with that surplus, you're able to achieve all of these great things. And we've used this very powerfully with many clients. To give you guys an example, I had a client that we've been working with for over 12 months now that was running quite a successful joinery business, multi-7-figure joinery business. But he didn't understand these numbers. And he thought just because he was out there hustling, bringing opportunities in, sending out invoices, that he was running a successful business. The reality was when we crunched the numbers and we looked at his situation, he was multi-6 figures in debt. and he was burning over $30,000 a month in cash flow. So by implementing this strategy, we understood the numbers, we reviewed the pricing, we reviewed his sales strategy, we reviewed how he managed his cash flow, and then we turned it around. He's now got a seven-figure business with a 27% profit margin after he pays himself an $80K per year salary. And we did that in less than 12 months.
So he was having a significant deficit. You reverse engineered his personal profit and loss. We then made some adjustments to his sales, increased his revenues, so to speak, and now he's actually doing really well in 12 months.
In the space of 12 months, it was about a $600,000 turnaround from negative 300 to plus 270.
Wow.
So massive. And this is the power of knowing our numbers. Now, the other scenario is we're break even. You're treading water. You've got enough where every month you seem to be just making ends meet. And the reality is that in that situation, you do not have any surplus means to grow. So we need to earn more money. Or the third scenario is you've got a surplus. We've got money left over, and then we need to make it work for us. And the important part of all of this, Steve, is that we need to save and pay ourselves first. The habit that we've all got into because we don't have clarity around our numbers, and it's normally that lack of clarity where we say, oh, I'm not quite sure how much I'm going to have left over at the end of the month, so I'm going to wait till the end of the month, see what's left, and then I'm going to plan with it. However, we need to flip the switch on that. With clarity around your numbers, we should know exactly how much you should have left over. We should save that at the beginning of the month when your money comes in, and then spend what is left.
It's actually quite indicative. You've said it about 3 or 4 times. I've actually been put in a little stroke. Is if the people actually say, well, hang on a tick, if my means are not matching or I'm under, make more sales. If we're actually are doing well and we're sort of break even or making profit, well, we've now got to make more sales, but also now have to have a plan of action to pay ourselves first, but have some advice on what to do to create leverage. Is that right?
Correct. And this is the thing, Steve, that when we talk about linking your activity to the outcomes, because sales can be tough, right? It can be difficult to keep up your numbers when you don't have a clear North Star that you're chasing. And hey, your North Star might be that income target, that 100K or the 150 or the 200K. But more importantly, if we can link the sales activity to the holiday in Hawaii, the house by the beach, the private school for the kids, the financial freedom by 50, then we're going to have a lot more energy and a lot more enthusiasm approaching those sales, because those sales are the difference between achieving those things that you really want or not.
Yes, look, a KPI doesn't drive a person, whether they're a business owner or whether they're a team member. It's what are they going to do with for themselves or their family.
Exactly.
That's a big driver. And if they get some clarity there, just share the let's say the goal or the dream.
Exactly. And it seems very simple, but it's so powerful because we need to be invested. And when we're invested, it's going to help us drive the outcomes that we really want.
Terrific. Now, you've got that strategy in place. Before we go any further, Darren, do you have a question for Jackson?
Yeah, certainly. I think you said about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that we need to take care of putting food on the table, given that what a lot of your clients and the rest of the world has probably been through recently, that's one of the challenges. So what are some of your clients doing at the moment that are still proactive with their wealth creation, even if they've been limited with their income over this period?
Yeah, it's a great question, mate. So one of the things that we've done for all of our clients is about making sure that they're able to build up a war chest. And we never know what's around the corner. And of course, none of us could have imagined this whole coronavirus crisis happening. But there is always something around the corner. However, most people are underprepared and they have this fear, this anxiety that what if the wheels fall off? And because of that fear, because of that anxiety, it impacts their decision making, because nobody makes good financial decisions or really any decisions out of fear, because it comes from a different part of our brain than when we are without fear. So for this reason, we make sure that our clients always have a war chest, that we've built up an emergency fund, both in their business and personally, that gives them peace of mind and certainty in the event of the unforeseen. We've had clients in the fitness space who've lost 80% of their revenue as a result of this. But they could turn around and say, Jackson, we've got 9 months of operating expenses in the bank. We're going to be fine. And it allowed them that when everybody else was consolidating and retreating and playing defense, they could afford to play offense. And these clients, because they were able to remove that anxiety, because we'd been able to set this financial foundation, they've actually been able to accelerate far beyond their peers. Because as Warren Buffett famously said, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. And it's because we're able to play this defense and set that foundation that we're able to do that and do that effectively with great results.
Great. And it also comes down to whether you have a business or not, to have a thing called a sinking fund. It's always a good idea to make sure that there's always something in the war chest, as you said, and people have actually planned accordingly and don't keep taking all of their profits out of their company, or even with their income, have a richest man in Babylon account, so to speak, and keep using that thing called compound interest.
Exactly. And look, I think the key part, and one of the misconceptions around planning for an emergency fund, is that, once again, many of us are taught that we need to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses put away. But the issue is that no one's really invested in that, because it takes too long to think about it. Like when you ask the average person, well, what's your average living expenses a month? They're going to stop and have to think about it, right? Like, oh, wow, okay, when was the last time I did a budget? Oh, well, what about this? And I've got to carry the 2 over here, and it's too complicated. So because it takes them too long to do the calculation, they forget about it. They're not invested.
Way of doing that. Do you help people do that, Jackson? So, we're talking about things that we need to do this, we need to do that. And what you've just said, I believe, is absolutely true for most people. It's like, I love to know, I know I need to do it, but I just don't know how, and I don't know who to go to, because it's all becomes overwhelmed. It's just like, oh my God, I'm not a numbers person. I'm a little bit embarrassed about my situation. What do they need to do to get it started?
We can make it really simple, and that's what we specialize in doing. Like, anyone can make numbers hard. It's an art form to make it simple. So we take our clients through an exercise of really asking them, well, what are the emergency situations that affect your sleep at night factor? Maybe you've got elderly parents. Maybe you've got family overseas. Maybe you've got a property that might be coming up for some repairs. Maybe the air conditioning system's on the fritz a little bit and you've had to repair it a couple of times. So you know there's a looming $5,000 bill that's just around the corner. Ask yourself these questions. What are the things that keep you awake at night? Now, what is the probability of that occurring? Is it low? Is it medium? Or is it high? And if that event occurred, what do you think it would cost you? So for example, I guess the common things that come up are, well, if I lose my job, I get made redundant. Well, okay. If you lost your job, got made redundant, how long do you think conservatively it would take you to find a new job? Oh, well, maybe in this market, it might take me 3 months. Okay. So what is your net income a month? Which is pretty easy. Just go look at your last pay stub. Let's say it's $5,000. Okay. Well, if you wanted to buffer against that emergency, you'd need 15 grand in the bank. Much simpler.
And is there a way to do that for people just to be able to calculate it? Is there spreadsheets or?
We've got a tool. It's part of my book. It's part of the Plan B Foundations component. So you can get, if you get a copy of the book, all of the exercises are in there, and you can go through all of these things and map it out for yourself.
I must say, Jackson, I'm not sort of just trying to wave your flag here, but that book, you've made it easy to understand, but it's actually I've read a number of books and I was pulling things here, there and everywhere, and you're ahead of the game on that, and you've made it easy to understand. So I would strongly recommend people having a read of your book. It's informative. It's actually it's not just a numbers book, it's actually a strategy book, matter of fact. So it's very good.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. Look, the whole aim was to try and make it simple, because what I found for most people, they're afraid of the financial monster under the bed. The problem is they haven't had an opportunity to flick on the switch and look under the bed to realize there's no monster there. And it's just that irrational fear of numbers. They just don't know where to start. So I give them the tools.
When it comes down to it, they get their destination, they've got their goals and sorted out, and then they got their why. Once they've established that, they say, well, what's this destination going to look like? What is it actually, what that specificity is? And then we need to say, well, hang on a tick. Let's look at something that we don't talk about regularly is cash flow. And then looking at what periods of time we have to have enough cash flow for, let's say, risk reversal. In other words, contingentification, so to speak.
Correct.
And so it gives us a little bit of breathing space there if things do go sort of south.
Exactly.
What's the next step that we need to do to have an action plan, a wealth plan that's easy to follow?
Well, the simple way that you can do this is once you've got that version 1 personal profit and loss, you save that, you create a copy of it, and then you create your next milestone personal profit and loss, which is basically a future version, let's say in 12 months' time. And we adjust the numbers of what we theoretically believe that future milestone situation is going to look like. Let's say, for example, in 12 months' time, you want to increase your holiday budget from $5,000 to $10,000 a year. You want a little bit of extra play money every single week to go and do the things that you want to do. Grab that extra lunch out or go out for a nice dinner with your partner. And you also want to be in a position where you can have a mortgage on your home, let's say. So all of those things we can adjust in the personal profit and loss. We work out, well, what would the monthly repayments on the mortgage be? Well, I don't have rent anymore, so I delete that from the personal profit and loss. I increase my weekly personal spending from $150 to $200 a week. I adjust the travel budget. And that now tells us what our monthly expenses would be. And once again, that allows us to then set an income target by just adjusting how much income we've got coming in, which we could then reverse engineer into our sales to have a clear North Star.
Isn't that interesting that we're in the SAC and the Sales Success Club, and what we're doing is we're getting these, let's say, future projections and say, oh, this is what I want. But it comes back down to say, well, this is what we want to spend, and this is what we want to do. Where are we going to get the revenues from? So to be able to create those opportunities, we need to then increase our sales or increase our income. So once we get those things in place, that's expenditure. There's things that we're going to spend. But I remember you saying just a while ago, it's that surplus that we need to do something with to create that wealth. Exactly. So what would be the final action plan once we've got those little, let's say 1 and 2 year personal P&L statements sorted? What do we now do? Now we know what we're going to spend. How are we going to make some money?
Well, we break that down into KPIs because you've got to realize that your wealth, your income are lag indicators for hitting your other KPIs. And it's too late that if you look at how much money you've earned for the year, let's say we're in a new financial year now, you've just got your group certificate or you're looking back on your last 12 months profit and loss in your business. It's too late for you to say, oh shit, I'm not happy with that result. I'm just going to go jump in my DeLorean and get to 88 miles an hour and go back in time. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. So all you can do is adjust your KPIs moving forward. So we set the target and we reverse engineer it backwards. I want to achieve this in my wealth. I need to earn this. I need to have this much surplus. To have this much surplus, I need to earn this much income. To earn this much income, I need to do this much in sales. To do this many sales, I need to do this many proposals. For this many proposals, I need to do this many meetings. And for this many meetings, I need this many leads. So what we can do is we can connect the leads to the wealth. It's a funnel. If we hit the lead target, we do the meetings, we do the proposals, we do the sales, we make the money, we get the surplus, we achieve the wealth goal.
You're spot on the money. And look, it's just music to my ears. It's you do the, as you said, the activities, create the outcome, and then we can do lots of things when you've got surplus, but you can't do anything if you haven't got the surplus. So people talk about balance, Jackson. I'm not a believer in balance from the get-go. I think you've got to be a little bit of imbalance so you can then have a balance the other way when you've actually got the fruit. So work hard now, do whatever it takes to make sure you get the surplus, and then to have an action plan to be able to put into play. Now, once we've got that surplus, so many people waste that surplus. Now, this is when it comes down to, I think it's great that we've gone through this process of our mindset, because if we don't have a mindset, we don't have anything. So once we've actually got that reversed engineered model and we now got a surplus, so many people put things into A, B, and C. Now, I was talking to you and a couple of your team members who are absolutely phenomenal. And they were talking about different ways to save significant money on things that everyone does, such as superannuation. People say, oh, super. No, no, no. Hear me strong here, guys. What I heard, and it was actually talked to me, and we spoke about it, didn't we, about with Bogsy, of ways of doing super differently, not at a retail level. And it significantly saved money, but made more money. And you know what? The fee that it would cost to do was insignificant. So that's a way to be able to leverage that surplus. And that's just one thing. Now, I'm not a financial planner of any description. I go to people like you, my friend. But is that the sort of thing we're looking for, playing with our surplus?
Yeah, so let's talk about the first part. Many people, they make all of this money, they increase the sales, but ultimately they've got nothing to show for it. And the problem for it is that they don't have a financial operating system. Like, think about buying a computer, the best computer. Let's say you go out and buy the latest Apple Mac Pro or whatever it is. You've spent thousands on it and you go to boot it up, but the operating system isn't on it. It's useless. It doesn't matter how much you've spent on that computer, unless the operating system is in place, it's going to be as good as a doorstop. And a great sales strategy and smashing your targets is only as good as the financial operating system that cash flow comes into. And the problem is, for most people, their financial operating system is a leaky bucket. The more they tip into the top, the more that spills out on the floor in wasted opportunity. And we refer to this as cash flow bottlenecks. There are small
cash flow
bottlenecks.
Okay. Yep.
They are small, invisible things that are consuming your wealth, and they cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in opportunity cost over your lifetime. And you've already named one of them being superannuation. It's the invisible killer of financial freedom. Now, they are invisible for most people because they haven't been educated around how to identify them. Blatantly obvious for us because we look at them every single day. But imagine having a financial operating system that plugged all of the leaky holes in your bucket. That meant that the more money that you tip into the top, the more money that was held and was able to compound and grow and snowball over time for you to be able to achieve your financial goals. Because as I said, when we started today, it is not your earned income that will make you wealthy. It is what you do with that earned income that counts. And the wealthiest people, even though they may have very modest incomes, are because they understand how to make money work for them.
It's creating that leverage, isn't it? It's if you're able to utilize it properly, because it's I know it's just numbers on a screen, but
Sure.
If you maneuver accordingly, it will grow. It's like a plant. If you look after it. Now, to be able to get this sort of ideas to see where people are at the moment. Sometimes they've got these dreams and so forth, and they really don't know where they are. What can people do to maybe maybe get a little bit of one-on-one time with you, or maybe just find out where they are and see what's possible?
Yep. So there's a few things we can do. So we've created a training that we provide to the SAC and only our other strategic partners that's basically called Creating Killer Cash Flow. It's a 5-video series that actually walks you through everything that we've spoken about today and actually helps you implement it. Now, irrespective of whether you're a business owner, you're running a business inside a business, you're an employed salesperson, you need to treat your financial operating system like a business. Because when you adopt a business mindset, you realize that your earning capacity is infinite and you have complete control over your ability to earn an income. It's the power of being a sales professional. It is one of the greatest careers that you can possibly have. Because when you learn how to sell, as I said, you've got the holy grail. But one of the biggest downfalls for most salespeople is they don't manage their money well. So do yourself a favor and get this stuff into place. Now, on this page, you'll get access to a couple of things. You get access to a copy of my book if you want it, where you can actually work through all of the tools, all of the frameworks that I've developed over the course of the last 12 years that have helped me build over 1.2 billion in combined wealth for my clients. And in addition to this, you'll also get access to a 40-point scorecard. This scorecard will take you through the top 40 things that you need to consider in your business. So proprietary limited you, to work out and do a financial health check on yourself. Now, don't worry too much about the score. The whole idea is it might be a little bit alarming and you might have an oh shit moment, but now you have clarity around the things that you need to prioritize over the next month, quarter, year, and beyond to get yourself back on the right track for financial freedom. Knowing where you are is the first step to knowing where you need to go to create the lifestyle you want. You either need to be in the passenger seat and become a victim of circumstance, or get back into the driver's seat and take control.
All right. So first thing is to do the 40-point plan.
Yep.
Would that be the best? And then the second bit would be probably to watch the videos. We'll send them the link. That's the one that you gave us to the guys, just to remind them to opt in for that. And I'll just put it in the stack.
Please do. And following on from that, book in a time with us. If you want to go through and put together a financial game plan for the next 12 months, we're happy to invest an hour of our time to help you work out that damage control plan, help you work out exactly what you need to do to smash your goals. And if we feel we can help you beyond that, we can talk about what that looks like and how we can get you there. Keep in mind, guys, we only work with individuals we can put in a better situation after the cost of doing so. And once again, happy to invest the time to give you guys a game plan, even if that means we don't work together straight away. Because at the end of the day, this is the catalyst for change you need to get on the right track to achieve your goals.
Terrific. Well, look, guys, you've got a plan. Now you've been taught how to have a plan. Jackson, I can't thank you enough, mate. It's a great start for our Money Matters, because we've actually started with mindset. And as you know, I'm a big believer in mindset, in making sure that we have that understanding of why money matters. So we've got some really good points here, and also some phenomenal tools to start off with. So I'll get cracking and get them out to everybody, and hopefully everyone takes advantage of the situation. And we'll look forward to catching up in a fortnight's time, mate. So I really appreciate the time, mate. It's been outstanding.
They're happy to help. And guys, if you go through this stuff, if you've got any questions, make sure that you chuck them into the group before our session in a couple of weeks, because then we can make it a little bit more interactive, giving you the information and the tools and resources that you need to navigate whatever's life's complexities have come up for you. So happy to help.
Terrific. Dan, before I wrap it up, have you got one last question for the great man?
I think it's more of a comment. I think there's lots of experts that do generic financial planning that might, put something in the newspaper or online, or have a closed Facebook group, or walk around with no shoes on, for instance. But what it's made aware is that, as you said, it's not about the income target, it's about what you want to achieve with that income. That's a very personal thing. So to have that one-on-one personal coach from a finance perspective, I can see is so much more valuable than a generic plan. So thank you for your input. Appreciate it.
Happy to share. And look, I think the key part here is that you can't outsource your financial management. You need to learn to do it for yourself. So you really need to learn how to, if someone gives you a fish, you might eat for a day, but if they teach you how to fish, teach you how to manage your money effectively, you're going to be fed for a lifetime. And not only that, you're going to be able to pass it on to the next generation. So it's a valuable skill to have, and it's not as scary as you think.
Terrific. All right, gang. I don't know. So what a gift that has been. Now, I hope you watch this again, because Jackson covered a couple of things I interjected, because I like to recap stuff, and I'd also been very generous. We'll put a few things in the Facebook group. We'll also probably send you out an email just to make sure you get it. Take some action with this, because if we're making lots of money in your sales, let's make sure we get our personal P&L done, and then start looking at what your risk levels are, and then that's planning for success. So thanks for joining us, and let's make sure we have some action. Take some action. Go speak to Jackson and his team, and I'm sure they'll help you. I'm Dr. J. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.